Dave, for 2 days recently, I did not get my mail. I went on social media and my neighbors were all complaining, we want our junk mail. The U.S. Postal Service has always been one part of the federal government that worked pretty well. You know, you could mail a letter and 2 days later, you'd be pretty sure it was going to get where it's going. It's deteriorating. Dave, what's going on?
Well, several things are going on at once. I mean, first it's the pandemic. I mean, so they've got staffing problems just because of the pandemic. That's hurt reliability. Also, this new postmaster general who came in and made some drastic cuts, including overtime and just sort of reset the standards for what timely delivery is. That's but on top of these those immediate issues, the Postal Service just has a long-term problem. It's first-class mail is how it used to make all of its money. That volume has dropped by almost half in the last 20 years. Their current business model is just unsustainable.
Well, it's unsustainable if you figure them as a private company. If you figure them as an arm of the government providing a service, then you can justify subsidies from the government. The thing about this is we have the new postmaster took over in June. His name is DeJoy, major contributor to Donald Trump. And he also has a background in the trucking industry, logistics. Good choice. He decides to make these efficiency improvements at exactly the wrong time, just before an election.
And during a pandemic, yeah.
During a pandemic, he decides it's okay to let your mail sit for an extra couple of days because we want to pay overtime. And during a pandemic, meanwhile, we have President Trump saying that voting by mail is terrible. You set up a situation in which ballots may arrive suddenly late in November. Everybody will be saying, is it a Trump plot? Yeah. So you raise questions about who actually won the election. If a whole lot of ballots end up not getting counted, it's a disaster in progress. That's what
DeJoy has promised Congress that he's now going to reverse some of the changes, and he's going to make sure that the ballots get priority for delivery between now and November. So I hope Congress holds him to that.
I hope they do too.
But it is very unfortunate that this agency got politicized this year. It's that's the wrong time to have that that kind of problem. And the agency is running out of cash. By some projections, they'll run out of money sometime next year. So that's part of the stimulus negotiations between the president and House and the Senate. Whether the House had I think $25 billion in for short-term relief for the Postal Service. That makes sense to me. They, like other businesses, they've been severely affected by this pandemic and need some assistance to get through it.
It makes sense to me too, but still, over the long run, the Postal Service is in trouble. They're running. They have like $110 billion in unfunded liabilities, mainly for pension and retiree health benefits. If they're forced to pay that, they cannot proceed. Meanwhile, you have the government placing certain obligations on the post office. If you live on a farm 10 miles outside of Moberly and it's extremely inefficient to deliver to you, they have to deliver to you anyway. They cannot close a lot of post offices. You have a lot of mail volume is down. You would normally want to close about 4,000 post offices, 5,000. You can't do that because Congress says no.
Well, Congress is the problem here. I mean, a lot of other a lot of other countries have dealt with postal reform years ago. I mean, Germany privatized its Deutsche Post 20 years ago. Britain floated the venerable Royal Mail on the stock market about 6 years ago. Other countries have done more of a hybrid model where they didn't privatize it, but they opened it up to competition, and they freed it from some of these regulations and and legislative control that is so hamstringing our postal service.
And in some of those countries, you get your mail every 2 days or 3 days, not 6 days a week like we get here.
That might be fine. I mean, do we need 6 day a week delivery? I mean, do you need your junk mail 6 days a week? I think obviously we depend on the mail for critical things like ballots and mail order prescriptions and so on. But I think if it was reliable, you could deal with a somewhat reduced schedule.
That's it. If you want the service you have now, the Postal Service cannot support itself. Even if you freed up the amount they could charge, they can support themselves. A rational system would provide less service simply because there's less mail moving through.
Yeah, but as again, other countries have dealt with this. They're maybe less frequent service, but more reliable service. You kind of end the monopoly on first class mail, but you also free up the post office to make some business partnerships, rationalization moves, the kind of thing. I mean, privatization is one option. You don't have to go full privatization to get the benefits of reform.
And if you live in a hollow down in the Ozarks, 15 miles from town, well, you're going to have to drive to town to get your mail.
A couple of things about that. I think the universal service isn't as costly as some people think. Most, I mean, the post office can at least break even on most routes from the studies I've seen. And there are some very remote addresses, rural Wyoming or Alaska or somewhere. If that's going to be costly, and if you wanted to set up the post office as a more independent entity, Congress could provide an explicit subsidy. I mean, figure out what it costs to deliver to those very remote addresses. Give the Postal Service a few $1 billion a year to make that. It's a lot better than just having this inefficient model that we have now, which is unsustainable.
An interesting thing is that as the mail volume is going down, the package volume is going up for the Postal Service.
Right.
They're at this point, they're almost half and half in terms of revenue. So can you get to a situation in which you simply use, if this continues to grow, the packages to subsidize the mail? I don't know. They're directly competing against UPS and FedEx, and they seem to actually be able to do a pretty good job doing that.
They do, and that. But again, if they were out from under some of these some of these restrictions, I think they could be more even more competitive in that package business. They could form partnerships or kind of agreements with the competing package firms to do that that sort of last mile delivery.
Yeah.
They're already doing some of that, but I think they could do more in a different operating model.
But at this point, are we pretty confident that all those ballots, 45% of people might vote by mail, all those ballots will get there on time?
Well, Mr. Joy has promised that that they're going to prioritize that that election mail. We'll see. I think that's going to be closely watched and closely studied.
And if it doesn't work, we're going to have one hell of a hullabaloo.
It'll be a mess. It's already a mess, and it will be a bigger mess. Yeah.